Hi there, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Catherine, and I make journals out of old books like this one that I'm working on right now. This book, The Practical Bookkeeper, was printed in 1884. So this is what I'm working on. Oh, welcome to 30 minutes of my day. Again, if you're new here, I turn on my camera and I work for 30 minutes and I happily join you in on whatever it is I'm doing. So it's not necessarily tutorials that you're going to find on my channel. Once in a while, yes. But mostly it's just I turn on my camera and I chatter away while I'm working on whatever I'm working on. And then I bid you adieu at the end of usually 30 minutes, but I am a bit of a chatterbox and sometimes I go on longer than that. So I've been working on the signatures for the Practical Bookkeeper, and I'm really happy with how they're coming along. I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do as far as embellishing this book. I don't want it to be necessarily a math book or an accounting book, and I definitely don't necessarily want it to be a gentleman's journal. No offense to any gentlemen out there. I'm quite open to it being a gender neutral book because I certainly don't intend not that it's gender specific to only like lacy things. Guys can like lacy, ribbony, pretty things too. So let's get that clear. But quite often my journals are lacy and ribbony and have pretty things. I just don't see I don't foresee lace all over this journal, even though there is some on the spine here. I don't foresee, sometimes I've just got it billowing out the sides, and I'm not feeling that this time. I'm feeling more like some curious things and, that sort of stuff. Advertisements, newspaper ads. We'll see. I've been working on fortifying the folds for the pages from the original text block that I want to be able to put back in. And I've come up with this idea. I recently decided I really don't like the flavor of the coffee that my Keurig makes. And I don't like that I can't control, at least with my Keurig, and it's a relatively new Keurig, but you still can't control how big of a mug you want with mine, and you can't control how strong or how weak, things like that. I missed my drip coffee maker. And yes, I know French press is delicious, and so is the I'm not sure what they're called. They're the kind that sort of looks like a little jug with the glass cone top, and you put the filter in it. My son and his wife, my son and my daughter-in-law, they love that for making their coffee, and my other son-in-law, he loves French press. And my daughter Emily, who the family claims makes the best coffee, and she can make it out of really cheap coffee grinds. And for some reason, Emily's coffee is just, it's so good. Anyhow, and she just uses a good old regular drip coffee maker. And so I just thought I'm going back to using a drip coffee maker. And I hopped over to my Walmart and got myself one. And but of course, ever the junk journaler, I've been rinsing and saving the coffee filters. I didn't get one of the stainless steel reusable ones. When I had a drip coffee maker before, you know what, I see a little bit where some glue needs. When I had one before and it had one of those baskets, the reusable baskets, I found that grounds slipped through. It didn't really completely contain the coffee grounds. So I knew I did want to use the paper coffee filters. And then, of course, when I started seeing them, I thought, you know, ever the junk journaler, what can I do with this? And hence, this morning, I spent the morning I just cut them up into strips, so they're already a nice color. Oh, that's a piece of paper. But they're already a nice color. They're already wrinkly, and they're nice and strong. They really are, you know, like that. Yes, I know that's ripping, but paper rips. See, when you do that, it's strong. So I decided to, but it's nice and thin, so it's not bulky. And although many people like washi tape to reinforce their folds on folios that need reinforcing, I really don't. I'd rather use it somewhere. If I'm going to use it, I usually forget to use my washi tape, and I should use it. I don't know. I'd rather use either some of the paper from the actual book text block, but this paper isn't that strong. So I decided I'm going to use coffee filters, and I'm happy. So, so these are ready to go. So we're going to do this, and then I think what I'll do is I'm going to pick the camera up. Well, the camera, my phone. I'm going to pick it up and show you what I've been doing around this room and why I was missing in action last week because I was working so hard in this room. I was being ruthless with, now I don't think so. You know what, I haven't trimmed these pages. Let me see if they really stick out. Oh yeah, they really stick out. I need to trim these pages. Okay, I take about 1/8 of an inch off, maybe even not quite 1/8 of an inch off the open side when I put text block pages back into books, because I find they don't fit back in as tightly as they did when the publisher made them. Let's see if we can be lazy and do them all at once. Maybe we should do 3 at once and then 2 at once. How's that? Oh, sorry, I banged that. Okay, so we'll take that off. So I take about that much off. There. Yeah, so boy, I worked so hard on those bookcases that I have, and rearranging them, making them more functional for what I need. And because they hold 3 different things, those bookshelves hold future junk journals. They also hold books that I use. I call them my cutters, and they're the books that I will cut folios from, or I will cut, if say they're full of beautiful pictures, I will fussy cut from them. Sorry for that loud bang noise. So I call them my cutters, and I have, I think, about 4 shelves of cutters. And then I also have shelves that I use. There we go, that's better. I also have shelves that I use for my containers that have ephemera making supplies and ephemera and made ephemera that's ready to go. Yeah, that's better. So I wanted to keep Harry Rice's name and his date, and that he went to the BAB, I forget what it is, Business Associate, I looked it up, college in Toronto. But he lived out here in my town, and he must have gone to that school and then come back and lived and worked out here for the rest of his life. And he ran a little store. So he was smart to go to accounting school to run a store. And it was actually his father's store. I forget what they sold. I'll look it up. But it was his father's store, and then he took it over. So maybe his father was smart enough to say, Harry, you got to go to school. And then left the business to him. And he lived out his life here, and he's buried in our local cemetery. So, like this one, it's got a blank final page. Does this one... Okay, I'm going to use this one. No, I'm going to use this one, and I'll show you why. The one with the blank final page. I'll put it in signature 4. Is this signature 5? No, this is signature 4. Alright, so you can see, even by looking through what I've already got in here, there's lots of ledger paper. That part I am sort of, you know, it's an accountant textbook, so that part I did sort of follow a little bit of a theme, but otherwise right now I would consider this a naked book. I love this. It's got some of Harry's calculations in there, and there we go. So I had to put that in. That just warmed my heart. And then going through the basket once more just shows you I have to keep going through baskets over and over again when I make a basket for a journal and then I've put it away. I went through the basket again and I found more of the blank pages from this time. I think these were from the back of the book. So there's 2 more blank pages in the to put back into the book, so I simply glued them like a plate, in the way they glue book plates into other books, illustrative plates. So I did that, and this might be ready to spend the night in Jessie Ma Pressy, but this front page. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. All right. This front page had a fold here and a tear here. So I used some of my faux cellophane tape there and there to correct that. And this paper you saw was from Medieval Mirage, from her tutorial. And it's very long. It's two videos long. You'll find it. She doesn't have very many videos up under videos. So it's there. I think it's from 4 months ago, but she put it back in again, and that she actually made it like two years ago, I think. Anyhow, I learned a lot. You think you know everything about tea dyeing, and you don't. Or at least I don't. I love the spilled ink here and there that you find in the book. This book. He's got spilled ink all over the place. Harry does. Okay. So now I am going to switch my phone over to a handheld. So from here on in, if you are one of those people who is nauseated by either the slight jiggling of a handheld camera, or else if you that's how you can tell I'm old. I got tissues in the sleeves of my sweater. I feel like Sheldon's Meemaw. Need a tissue? Yes. Well, I wouldn't give you that one. It's used. I did a lot of changing around, and like I said, I have on my bookshelf, they're just Billy bookshelves from IKEA. They're terrific though, and they do the job, and they're good value for the money. At least I think so. And my ephemera, I try my best to have my ephemera in clear containers so that I can see what's in the container, even though I will still label it anyways, because I got a thing about labels. So let's go. I'm going to pause, and next thing you know, we'll be handheld, and I'll be explaining things. So here we go. Okay, so first thing you're probably wondering is, why have you got a white table? Where's your messy old wooden drafting table? And I still have it. I took it apart, and if you look under here, it's the top of it is back there, leaning up against the wall. It seemed like the most sensible place to store it for the time being. I'm doing an experiment because I found that it was so deep this way that the storage that I thought was going to be great along the back of it ended up being completely out of arm's reach for me. And I was doing a lot of stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. And for a regular person, even that is good exercise. But for me, it served to not be good for my legs. So, and it would shorten how much work I could get done in a day. So I knew that I needed a table that was not so deep. Now this table, although it's white and it kind of looks new, it's not new. It's old and dented and still marked up and scuffed and kind of mucky. But it's still, I'm sentimental. This was my dad's table. So it was a table that he had he had a little workshop. The condo that my mom and dad lived in after they sold our family home, when they finally had an empty nest and they bought a condo, it came with a locker room, but it was a really nice big locker room, and it was a street level. So it had a window, and that became his workshop, storage and workshop. My dad was one of those men, who always had to have a workshop. He had to have his tools. He had to have a place that he could take things apart and put them back together again. And this was his table to do those things. So of course I saved it when I cleaned out their condo. Anyhow, so the sentimental side of me is using Dad's table. But I still have my workspace, my general workspace set up. I always call it the cockpit because I like to be able to be surrounded, even when my legs were good, surrounded within rolling distance of my chair that's on wheels. So if I go over here, I have things that are used on an hourly basis. So all my various glues and acetones. I really love anything that's on a Lazy Susan, and Dollarama is a great place for Lazy Susans. So like here on this Lazy Susan, I've got my Pringles lids for Mod Podge. These paintbrushes are only for glue. My paintbrushes I keep stored in my in the closet on the other end of my room. So those are just glue brushes. And I've always got I really like square containers for water for when I'm painting, or if I need, it's the end of the day or the end of my use for a glue brush. So this water, it looks a little cloudy. Here's a little hint that I find useful. I don't know, you might as well. I always put a little drop of Murphy's oil soap in the water. I find Murphy's oil soap the best for cleaning my brushes, whether it's paint or whether it's glue. And I just put a tiny little drop of it in the water so I can just throw it in there, just temporarily, only for until I get to clean it. Don't leave them in there. Don't leave your brushes in there, or you'll find your bristles, the metal holding it will loosen, it'll rust, the bristles will fall out, but it'll keep the glue wet and washable when you can get them to a sink later in the day. But little things like corner chompers, I use those very frequently. This is my new latest handy thing. And you might look at that and think, Catherine, what the heck is that? It's it's actually just using paper clip. So you just chomp down and it holds your papers together without needing a paper clip. So I use that just for my own paper goods, not necessarily for in-junk journals. Rulers, always need that handy. The big crocodile goes up there. These are my various cutting glasses and my glass that's got my pre-made cellophane tape, and a few of my favorite stencils that get used every day. My stencil with the coffee rings, it's in there too. I use it all the time. And then I did a makeshift shelf, like my dad would have taught me to do. So just a piece of wood. I found it in a big box at Home Depot and took it to the cash, and I said, "How much for this piece of wood?" And she said, "Was that in the offcuts box?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "It's just free." So yay. Look and see if your Home Depot has an offcuts box for free wood. And then bricks are terrific, and you can get them at your nursery store for less than $1 a piece for your brick. And if you're smart, you'll always have a couple of bricks that you've wrapped up so that you can use it to weigh things down. And then over here I have my other dolly that holds mostly cutting gear. And oh, there's my new brayer that my Crafty Crush found for me. She always knows what I'm in need of, because I usually bellyache. But oh man, I don't have a brayer, and of course part of me, I don't want to buy brand new. I want to find it at a thrift store. But she found it at a thrift store, so that makes it doubly good because it came from her and it was a thrift store. And then over here, there's the little princess when she was a teeny tiny little princess. Oh my goodness, she weighed barely nothing in that. She was like 8 weeks old in that picture. Anyhow, this is my new favorite thing that I found at a thrift store last week. And it now says ink pads on it, but it actually previously said Keurig on it. And what it is now is a drawer with all of my inks that I use the most. I have more ink pads than this, but these are the ones that I would say I use on a daily basis. So like my distress inks, I use vintage photo on a daily basis. I use gathered twigs on a daily basis. I use antique linen on a daily basis. I espresso, all those. And then my Versaclair. These are my new favorite ink pads. I like them better than Ranger Archival ink. They're just juicy. This is my new favorite one that I got the other week when Nancy and I, there we go. When Nancy and I went to running around and up to the book sale and everything, we stopped in at a scrapbooking store that's near me, and they only had a few of the VersaFine Claire ink pads, but this one is called Fallen Leaves. I wonder if I'm too close. And the color, I love the color. It's not black, but it's not brown. It is like, if you're a hairdresser, this is like in between a level 1 and a level 2. It's that close to black. It's just not quite. And for that, I love it. And I always have my ink pads labeled on the sides, so in case they're somewhere on my desk, and I label them upwards and upside down, because I do know that you're usually supposed to store your ink pads upside down, they say. So for now, they're right side up in here. And there's my gold. I use my gold almost on a daily basis. And I do have tons of Stampin' Up pads. Boy, whoever invented these Stampin' Up pads, it's a good thing I don't know them, because I think I'd punch them. These things are so hard to open. I actually had to write myself a note on how to get this darn thing open. But you know what? These ones are still nice and juicy. See, now I know to push it and then lift. Push and lift. But then try and turn it. Anyhow, my friend who doesn't scrapbook anymore very generously gave me a ton of these. I kept the ones I loved. I passed along the ones that I didn't. She had a few neon colors that I knew I'd never use. Anyhow, so that's my new thing, is this drawer was for Keurig coffee pods, which actually I never used, and found it at a thrift store. And usually they've got the lines in it so that you can put the pods in. And I thought, this is too good to be true, because this one didn't have it, but it did have just wires on the bottom, and some of these were trying to fall through, so that's why I put a little, that's actually an old Melissa and Doug box there. And then I've just put some pads there, some new inking pads. So I'm thrilled with that. I'm so happy with that. Over here is, again, the cockpit is like a J, so it goes from here. That's my bubbly water that I like. That's my flat water that I like to stay hydrated. and then it goes around. There's one of the few plants I can't kill, and I'm rooting some more of it up there. And then it goes around, and then I love surfaces where I can see things. So then I've just got 2 more tables. I find that the tables give me the surfaces I need to find things, but it also gives me storage underneath. Storage for things I don't use very often. That's Christmas things under there. That's my basket of tools. So things like, hi honey. My little friend has come up to say hello. Hello, sweetheart. You gonna go have a nap? Go in your place. Yeah, go place. Good girl. Lie down. Good girl. Down. Good girl. Tools, my hammer, nails, things like that. Leveler. There's my real fun ephemera bin. It's handy, easy to grab. Some more bins that I've sorted of already pre-fussy cut things. And this is for collaging. That I just keep it handy to grab for collaging. And then bits and pieces of laces and scraps and sari silk on a board that just fits right on the edges of that table. So that's really handy too. I really like how this work surface worked out because my sewing machine, let me move that. My sewing machine, I can just slide it out, roll myself over and sew. And it was able to give me a surface so that I can actually leave out my Sizzix. It's my secondhand Sizzix. Got it on garage sale. And I'm using it more because it's out and I see it, I'm using it. And this cupboard, inside it, I'm not going to bother opening it, has all my fabrics. So fabric pieces and fabric, usually just whatever Nancy calls them, fat quarters. Is that what you call them? I can't hear you. Anyhow, I think that's what they're called. It's just a piece of fabric, but you don't have to buy the whole yard or meter. Is in there, as well as my regular sewing basket. I keep my signature sewing tin here. There's my new one with Peter Rabbit. Thank you, Amanda. And then up here are the threads and bobbins of the colors I use most frequently. But I do have other threads in there and buttons are in there. And so this gives me my J, we're going around in a circle, sorry. This gives me my J shape that I like so that there's very little up and down and up and down and up and down for my ankles. And I even have a shelf back in here with my Liquitex stuff and some more little bins and lettering stamps. This is all tiny little ephemera things and drawers full of ephemera things, sticker books. Up there are my favorite twine type of things, like butcher baker cords that I use the most often. They're up there because they're handy and I'm able to grab those quickly. Here's how sentimental I am. That black box there is the only thing I have I have 2 things that belonged to my granddad. He came to Canada when he was 13. His brother was already here, his older brother. So he came to live with his older brother, and he never saw his mother and sisters ever again. He never ever went back to England, whether he couldn't afford it or for whatever reason, didn't go back. But he boarded the boat. His mother had made him a sack of cucumber sandwiches, I remember him telling me. And he had that tin with all his important paperwork and photos and things in it. And that's the tin. So I still have Granddad's tin. All my artwork, you know my wall that I love. There's Barry, love you, Barry. And there's all my babies, love you, babies. And there's my new Saw Boothroyd print. I hung it up, so it's nice. Now, if we go over, down there is Jessie Mapresi. And inside here, this is mostly empty now from cleaning out, which I'm really happy about. And so that gives me extra storage. This table is fantastic. I highly recommend it to anyone who doesn't have a work table and they want a reasonably priced, excellent, tough table. It's from IKEA. And you can get the top. That top is actually the white one. It was the only one they had. It comes in gray and black and white and wood, just plain wood stain. So I've just covered it in removable peel and stick wallpaper stuff, just to protect it, because it drives me crazy that it's white but not necessarily wipeable. But this is fantastic because the workhorses on either end, first of all, have a shelf so I can keep, again, makes for more storage. Another little nap place for the little princess. Here's where I keep my laces. So I have one basket of flat lace cardboard thimbles, one basket of ruffle lace cardboard thimbles, and one basket of ribbons. And then my more frequently used gel mediums are here, the two of them. So what I'm most pleased about of the work that I got done last week was the tidying up of my books. And it may look chaotic, but I know where things are now and they make sense to me. So here, I'm going to move over here so that you can see. It makes sense to me. These are all my Dick and Jane type cutters. I don't use them very frequently, but usually I try and put one folio in per journal. Inks, pre-cut fussy cuts are there. Everything pretty well self-labeled for making ephemera, or else it's already made ephemera. And these are all so that I don't either have to bend down and hurt my knees or reach up too high and have to climb on my kindergarten chair. I'm trying to save my knees and my ankles the way I've got things set up. So these lower heavy shelves are full of books that will hopefully someday become journals. And same with up here, books that will become journals. They are that far out because they're actually double thick. But I'm pretty well good about knowing where things are, especially if I can remember what color the book was. I can find it pretty quickly. It's not too bad. Then the top shelf is mostly just pretty things that, sentimental me has kept. There's a book holder over here that my dad made in high school when he was just a young lad. And then I have bins that I keep all my silk leaves that I like making journaling boards out of, if I'm doing like a nature themed or a fairy themed or just a pretty flowery themed journal that I want to have it. I want leaves hanging off the edge of the side. I just grab them at thrift stores and put them in baskets up there, and it actually ends up looking pretty. And then over here are my towers way down there. So the white tower, which I got at Michael's, so there's two of them, and then you join them together. That's all tea-dyed papers. And then the other tower in behind, which is just put together. It's not a nice one like this white one. I'd like to get another one of these, but oh well, I'm not going to bother at this point. At this stage in my career, no. It's full of scrapbook paper and ledger paper and paper that doesn't need me to tea dye it. So it's over there. And then up here, the OCD person in me, that's all extra glue because I had this fear of running out of glue, especially if there's a pandemic or winter storms. I need to know I've got glue. So I'm going to stand up, and there's my brown books. I had to find a place for the brown books. So there's all my brown books. And there's a collage that I made in 1977 when I was still in high school. And it was one of those things that I found in my dad's workshop that he had at the condo. So that was kind of neat that he still had that. I didn't know he had it. I had forgotten about it. And it was a project that I had to do. What's going on it? Come on, there you go. It was a project I had to do. We were doing the book Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, but we had to write an essay and then create something to go with it. So I wrote an essay on Zen and the art of cleaning my room. And part of cleaning my room was, even then, I had a huge stack of magazines. So I sat on the floor and started going through the magazines and just made a collage out of the pictures that I thought that I liked. There was a little movie character named Benji, that little dog. There's Benji in there, and I even put a rainbow in it. Ooh, even back then. And then the reason I did this was that I wanted it to show that I liked the color and the freedom of the artwork better than just the words. So I contained the words, I put them in their place, and then I let the artwork be free and be the part that I liked the best. And I tried really hard to keep down on the photos and have more illustrations rather than photos. So there you go on that. And then some of my watercolor paintings from the book that I illustrated. And then up there are some paintings from my brother, who is an artist. He usually makes huge paintings, but those two little ones he gave to me, and I love them. So, and then of course old posters. And then if you look out there, there's our tree. There's Dougie Gilmore, our maple leaf tree, and our backyard. And you can't see it, but right in behind Dougie Gilmore, oh my goodness, we've got a bunny nest in there. It is so hard to have a dog and a bunny nest in the middle of your yard, and the mama's got to be able to come and go. Mama bunnies nurse their babies. Mama rabbits nurse their bunnies twice a day. I wish it was that easy for humans. They at dawn and at dusk they nurse their babies. Otherwise, they are out eating. So she's got to be able to have access to her nest. And so there's a little hole in the ground right in behind that tree, and you can see she pulls the fur out from her tummy, and it's lined with fur, and then it's covered in grass, because I saw it and I thought, what is that? And I was sort of moving it a little bit because, of course, I was feeling kind of nervous because we've got other creatures that live out here. And because beyond this row of houses are farmers' fields. So we get creatures here. Anyhow, I lifted it up and I saw tiny little bunny ears. Oh, it was all I could do not to pick one up and just, give it kisses and snuggles and, Anyhow, So there we go. We're back. We've gone full circle. I'm going to go over to my door so you can get a better full-length view. So there's the wall that has all my bookshelves right there. And there's my towers of papers. I'm not showing you my closet. This shelf those are my journals. And you can see I was so ruthless. I actually have room. I have some partially empty shelves. And then this is also IKEA. It's full of, again, things that I use every single day, probably once an hour. So gotta be within arm's reach. Underneath are cutting boards that I use all the time. This cutting board down here I use only occasionally, but I still like to have it out, and now I've got a surface for it, so that makes life easier. There's my Frida Sensi. Yay, hi Frida. And underneath, you can't quite see, but I've got a stack of papers. Let me get my finger out of the way so my camera won't focus on it. Stack of papers for distress inking, and also my blue recycle box. And then, like I said, I've got sort of the J shape for the cockpit. And that's my room with all my art, my favorite pieces of art. This one I love because it belonged to my first father-in-law. And those of you who watch Grey's Anatomy, he was my person. And he's probably the person who I miss the most of the people I've lost so far. I miss him every single day. But anyhow, so there we go. I'm recording this on Canada Day, so for my fellow Canadians out there, happy Canada Day. And if you're as old as me, happy Dominion Day. Do you remember that? Then you're officially as old like me. It used to be Dominion Day, but now it's Canada Day. So there's my messy room. Well, it's not so messy anymore. I don't think this is messy. For me, this qualifies as tidy. Here's my next thing that I want to work on all at once. I want to do 5 books at once, and I want to do them in the spirit of experiment 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to do 5 experiment. So I'm going to do experiment 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, I guess. Well, thanks. If you're still here, whoa, kudos, or thank you. My gratitude to you. Some are self-explanatory. Stamps, self-explanatory. Tchotchke, self-explanatory. I am not a minimalist. I am a unapologetic maximalist when it comes to my junk journal-y things. So there we go. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope wherever you are that you're safe, and that the people you love are safe too. So take care. Have a great rest of your week. Hopefully I'll check in again this week, and we'll get a bit more work done on that book down there. And it has to go in the press, so I'm actually going to pick another book to get started on. And I'm thinking it might be from one of those brown books down there. All right, I'm off. Bye.